Welcome everybody to our Nexus seminar. It's a great pleasure to have now the full room today. I'm here as a Nexus seminar coordinator, and it's my pleasure today to introduce you to our next Nexus talk, which will be about waste management and circular economy. The talk will be given by our academic officer, Circularity. He is the head of the waste management unit, and it's also my my boss first, and my guide through these 4 years that I've been in UNU-FLORES. So this is a great honor today for me to give the floor to Hiroshan in one of his last talk after the 6 years term here at UNU-FLORES. Before starting, I just want to also acknowledge the presence of the director Yamaguchi from the UNU-EIS, so our sister institute, and I'm sure that she will be delighted by the talk of Hiroshan. Hiroshan, the floor is yours.
You said floor or flores? All right, good morning. You see my name. I'm so glad to see a full house. Can you all hear okay in the back? Yeah? All right, good. Circular economy. I know there is a fancy title, a couple of other words too, but it's all about circular economy. Just need to say a few things before I start. I don't have any equations. I don't have any fancy theories. I'm just going to share a couple of observations I made while working on the topic over the last couple of years. To be exact, I have 5 observations. And I also kindly ask you, because I take examples from here and there, different countries, different places, different contexts. Don't take them personal. I'm trying to be professional. I'll just use the facts to make a point. These countries might be related, or you might be actually from one of those countries too. Okay? Fair enough? All right, let's do this Hiroshan for the one last time. I just need to ask this question from all of you. What do you see in here? Anything interesting? It's all metal. And I can very well tell by the look it's rusty because it's not in use anymore. So probably for the last 10, 15, 30, 40 years it's locked in one place just as junk. So it is waste too. And what is the point I'm trying to raise here? What do you see here? You see metal. I see much more than that. I mean, I see tons of metal stuck in one place without being put into any good use while we dig for any further resources, further minerals, further metal. I know. I also see the huge amount of water we had to use to dig for more materials and also the energy. So there is something not right about how we handle business. I ask the same question from you now. What do you see? Obviously it's a landfill and there is some fruits and vegetables, so okay, well, what's the big deal? This is normal, right? So we see waste. But I also see how much water we have wasted to produce this wasted food. And how much water we have used, how much energy we have used. I also see what we can do with this too. It shouldn't be in a landfill. Of course, it cannot be from Germany. I think we have stricter laws here. If I remember right, it's from the States. You can do a lot of things with this, composting, biogas, so many things. But it's here in a landfill instead. So what seems to be the issue? The issue is with our lifestyle. For centuries, we got used to this concept of what they call linear economy. So you start from, I guess I have, yeah, okay. You take whatever you want to take from the natural resources to produce as much as you want, because that's how the economy runs. And then whatever is left or unwanted becomes waste, and we have mountains of them right now. This is not sustainable. Of course, we understood it. And good thing is, some years ago we decided to do it in a different way, sustainable waste management. So we try to recycle, we try to recover. I mean, it's not really about the material flow, it was more about how to handle this in a reasonable way. That's how we started it. As a result, so part of the material is actually going back to the production line. So it makes this economy circular. This is why we call it circular economy. Now we are going back to it, but actually this is more close to the nature. This is how we lived like thousands of years ago when we had very simple lifestyle. But I'm glad it's happening again because we can optimize the usage of material. Now, I promise to share 5 observations. The very first one. It's already in use. Circular economy is already in use in some contexts, some places. Those who are using it, those who are practicing it, don't even call it circular economy. It's very funny to notice. Just to make it interesting, I'm going to use this example. This is not so much academic, right? 2015 movie, The Martian. How many of you have not seen this? Not? I said not. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, you missed one. Okay, this is an exciting movie. I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, so it's exciting because it's about a mission to Mars. But actually, I found the best possible example to explain circular economy in this. This is the best so far for me. I haven't found anything better. So, half of the classroom, half of the audience, you haven't seen the movie, right? I'll give you a brief version. Mark Watney is a botanist, astronaut. He is one of the 6 crew members. They went to Mars, they were doing some experiments, there was a storm, they couldn't do the experiments anymore, they had to run away from the planet, but Mark Watney met with an accident. The others thought he was dead, so they left him there on Mars. He didn't die, he went back to his lab. Now the problem is he has to survive for another months, not months, actually more than a year, well, let's say a couple of years. He had water because in spacecrafts, you know, there is a water reclaimer, there is a recycling process, right? He had water, he had oxygen, he had other stuff, but he didn't have enough food. So, this is what he decided to do. I know it is science fiction, but it's almost real. He had some potatoes, fresh potatoes, because they were having a plan to go for a Thanksgiving dinner. Potatoes is important, right? So, potatoes, he started cultivating potatoes using Martian soil, fertilized with human waste because there were 5 other crew members. They spent 18 days on Mars already, so he had enough human waste. Irrigated with water. He had enough water to drink, but he didn't have enough water to irrigate. He had to innovate. He decided to burn hydrogen. He had enough supply of hydrogen to make irrigation water. So this is how it happened. This is his crop. Now think about it. It's not only about circular economy example. This is actually a beautiful example of the Nexus concept too. Now look at these words I have highlighted in red. Potatoes. There's only one crop. There's only one water supply. There's one energy supply to make water, and waste sits right in the middle. They're all connected. And when you don't have anything else but to plan for your own survival, these are the things people actually care about. That's why these 3 things are important. The water, energy, food nexus, or whatever you want to call it. Now, stakeholders. On the surface, you might think, it's only one person, so what's the big deal? No, actually, there's one person, but he's playing all different stakeholders. He's the producer, he's the consumer, he's the policymaker, he makes his own policies, he's the inventor, he's the innovator, he's everything. One story, one simple story, apparently complicated because it's related to Mars and all this fiction, but very good story. Now, it doesn't only happen on Mars, it actually really happens. These kind of things do happen on Earth too. Now, I'm going to take 2 or 3 examples from different continents, and I just want to bring this up, Singapore, because because of new water program. Singapore is a small country with very little natural water resources, and they depend on Malaysia with an agreement, a formal agreement to receive water, which will end in a couple of years, 10, 20, I don't remember, I think 1939 or, 2039 or somewhere in that range. So they decided way back to do it in a different way. They put money into research to make wastewater, to bring wastewater to a drinkable quality. And now this is running, and it has become a very good example to the rest of the world. The quality parameters, the quality of this new water actually it exceeds the WHO standard, so it's good quality water. They mix it with some drinking water, and the rest is actually sold for some fine industries that require good quality water. Second example, I don't know if you have seen this. You might be thinking, this guy is obsessed with movies. Yeah, I might be. There's a movie about this boy too. This boy is from Malawi. He is now 33 years old, but this story happened when he was 14 years old. There was a drought in his village, thanks to climate change and deforestation. His dad could not cultivate anymore, and the rest of the other farmers in the same village, they couldn't do anything too. They wanted to migrate, and most of them actually started migrating to other cities. He decided to fight, and this is how he fought. Funny thing is, you can see a windmill, but there is a bicycle on the top of it. Can you see that? Why? This is how he made his innovation, because he used his dad's bicycle, which had a dynamo, a little dynamo, so the wind turns the wheel, and the dynamo produces electricity, and he used a recycled pump to bring water from a groundwater well, and they irrigated. This is a real story. Unlike Mark Watney's story, The Martian, this is a real story. This really happened. And he actually did help with the other farmers too by making replicas of his model. So this is real. And this is a beautiful example of this concept. Circular economy and combined with Nexus approach too. Renewable energy is used with some recyclable technology to produce food, and it happens in a village. It goes in a sort of a cycle, maybe not perfect, maybe not the best example, but I see the same picture here too. Just to be fair geographically, third example comes from the other continent, South America, or the Americas. I took this from Brazil. Anyone who speaks Portuguese, Portuguese. Oh, good. Estrutural. Did I say it right?
Yes.
What does it mean? Structured. Is that right? Okay, I looked it up, but I couldn't believe it. They call it structured landfill. I don't see much of a structure. This is not very structured, but probably was compared to what was there before, maybe it was structured. But long story short, this was closed in 2018, and it made headlines for another reason. This site was too close to the capital, Brasilia, and too close to the presidential palace, if I heard it right. And they wanted to go for a better design facility somewhere away from the city. So it really happened, but it made headlines because of these people who are doing something on this damn site. They are practicing circular economy. This is the informal sector and their lives. This is their livelihood. It depends. Their earning. Everything depends on this. And so that was the real social issue that was talked about in the news media last year. I could have selected any landfill. It's the same story in some African countries and Asian countries too. But just to distribute it, I decided to take it from Brazil. All these three stories have one thing in common. The context is different. The technological advance is different because the Singaporean level is way too advanced. And then this village boy, he used his own technology, and there is not much of a technology here. Three different contexts, but there is one thing in common. Can you tell me what it is? Using waste for a reason. Actually, this is about survival. Singapore is trying to make a plan for their survival. And the village boy did it for the same reason. These people are doing it for the same reason. They don't call it circular economy. When Singapore started all these things in 1974, that was 15 years before we heard anything about sustainability. At least 20 years before we heard anything about circular economy. We don't label it. What we have now is a new label. It is good because at least it gives more attention to this topic as a subject matter. But the best natural place, why it happens and how it happens is when you are challenged. When you challenge. As human, we have this capacity to adapt and innovate when we are challenged. I will bring this fact in one of my later observations because it is actually a way to make it better too. The transition is slow. So now we want the economy to be circular. We want it to happen overnight, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's slow. Yeah, sure. Why? What's the reason? I can understand two reasons. Our focus is here. That's how we started all this sustainability business, because it was mainly about sustainable waste management and then recycling and then recovery. It's all here. But what we put back in the system for production is not much. So our attention is much in here, but even that we're not doing a good job. And there is a greater problem here. I mean, if you want to see a cycle running as a cycle, you have to have smooth transition in each and every part of the cycle. This has a problem too. I'll get into some details. So after 30 years of talking about sustainability and maybe some 10-15 years of circular economy, the current gap in circularity is 91%. So we only do, I mean, this is a big picture, not only considering one or two fields. We only do it with 9%. It's a huge gap. And now I'm going to talk about these reasons here and here. Now, waste. Well, it's just a snapshot. I actually already told what I had to say. Paper recycling, we do it in actually a reasonable way, but still it is at 60% or 58% if I want to be exact. Composting is a very simple idea and we've been doing it for hundreds of years, but as a business it's not easy and most compost projects fail because we don't know how to do it, we don't know how to run it as a business, even though approximately 50%, or in some countries up to 65% of the waste, municipal solid waste in special, it has organic matter. It's a waste. And because we have done some work with wastewater and sewer topic, just want to bring this up too. These numbers are from some publications. I think some of our colleagues did. A sister campus did. 330 cubic kilometers of wastewater is produced. This is a very conservative number. The real numbers are actually much more, it could be much higher. We produce this much of wastewater, only 0 to 5% is used, if it is used at all. You're wasting it. Now, so not doing enough to stop waste. Our attention is actually here, but even that we're not doing enough. So then forget about the other part of the story. This is SDG number 12. Sustainable production and consumption. I'm glad it became an SDG because we need attention there, because we are not doing it. We're not doing enough at all. So some of the facts related to food, energy and all this, the Nexus thing. 70% of the fresh water is used in agriculture. Do we really have to do that? And why are we not using other alternatives? It's just a question. 30-40% of the food is wasted even before it reaches the table. It all happens here. We don't know how to sustainably produce and sustainably consume. Cattle industry consumes 25% of the agricultural land, only to give us 8% to eat. 8% of what we eat is related to that, but it uses three-quarters of all the resources. Production, which is the take-make part of the picture, and the consumption, these practices are not sustainable. Just for the heck of it, let's ask him, how did Watney handle take-make use part of the cycle? But his whole operation was based on optimization because he didn't have much. This is what happens when you're pushed to a corner, you're trying to innovate, right? So this is, the interesting part is this. He set policies for himself just to improve his chances of survival. He started rationing food. This is how much he could eat. See in this picture? Okay. I mean, it's a movie, I know it is fiction, but there are so many things we can learn from that by relating. Because when you start talking to people about Nexus concept or sustainability or circular economy, most of them, they don't understand. Use something simple. Observation 3. Policies can also influence the take, make, and use part of the story. So this is what I promised before when I talked about you being innovative when you're pushed to a corner, when you have a real challenge. Can we do this? Because we have enough policies regarding the waste part of the picture. Can we do the same thing, like applying policies to make the sustainable production and consumption? I found some examples, some interesting examples. Some of them I have seen, experienced, or at least I have read. The others, I don't know. Let's take one at a time. But the question I'm asking with this is, can the stakeholders react accordingly? Can the markets adapt accordingly? The answer is yes. One of the best examples is from Rwanda. I have never been to Rwanda, but I've been watching this or following this for a long time for one reason. Now, unlike the previous set of examples where they didn't do what they did for the name of sustainability, this is opposite. They actually made the policy first. No plastic bags. They made the policy for the benefit of environment and sustainable in the name of sustainability. And the result, I'm only taking one side of the story because there is so much discussions about how they became a role model for bag production, but now it is paper bags. The guy in this picture is a plant manager. He used to be a nurse. He changed his job and got into bag manufacturing. He's doing well. And there are some other stories about this too. I mean, it makes some impact. And the policy was introduced in 2008. It's been there for more than 10 years now. I've never been to Pakistan. Mukid, you here? Oh, yeah, here, okay. If there's any question, you can ask him, don't ask me, okay? This is something I heard from one of the students in, I gave a talk a few months ago at Simpson class. It was a student from Pakistan, and she actually brought this example. I didn't know about it, and then I started reading. And one of our own interns, Hafsa, she helped me with some of the information. Now, very simple. In 2000, around 2000, year 2000, they introduced a law called one dish policy because wedding receptions in Pakistan, they're large and there was a lot of food waste. So this was the government's intervention to stop some of it. It's actually very good when you look at the date, year 2000, almost 20 years ago they did it. They took some steps to control it. Now, make no mistake, one dish doesn't mean that you only have to eat rice or meat. One type, one source of carbohydrate, one source of meat, one source of salad, something like that. I think they allow like 6 dishes. Yeah? Okay. I did my homework. Yeah. And very recently, in 2018, in Islamabad and that's the capital. Islamabad and few other cities, they introduced another law which says that all wedding receptions should end by 10 p.m. for 2 reasons. One is energy, of course, yeah. It's night. The second reason, if I heard it right, it's about when people get hungry. They understood that people are actually hungry between 6 and 8, around 8, maybe 8 p.m. I'm talking about. Feed them when they're really hungry, so actually you're not wasting much food and get over with it. Makes sense. It's very practical. So I followed some blogs and other newspaper articles. There's not much in the published scientific literature about this, but it's a very interesting example of being brave to introduce something like this. Policy first, and it makes an impact, right? This one is about a very successful composting program. I mean, there are so many composting programs. I can take examples from different countries. Again, just to keep the geographical balance, this is from South America. And plus, there's another reason, but I'll tell you about the story first. This Cajica is a small town located about 1 hour north of Bogota in Colombia. They decided to make a difference. The municipality decided that they need to do something better, and they changed the rules. Of course, the central government helped in some ways with there was some ongoing changes about policies too, but the municipality did most of the work. They actually took advice from all stakeholders. It was a very much collaborative process. They talked to all of them. They took all advice from all different stakeholders and ran for a pilot project, and they found the best business model. It runs, so I think it started, officially started in 2008. It's been running for 11 years again. Why am I telling you about this? While you might be able to find 10, 15, 20 other composting programs, because in 2017, they were ranked by UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, as one of the 5 model waste management cities. So, policies can actually help to do it better. Next two are my examples, my experience, so you cannot challenge me it's right or wrong. This is how I felt. 2018, I don't know if you remember, in 2018, European Union finally passed, European Parliament finally passed the 2015 proposal to be more circular. I hope you remember this happened last year, yeah? Okay. And the changes are coming into effect between 2022 and 35, well, basically within the next 15 years. Some one-time use plastics will be banned, and there are a lot of things around it. And some things happened. I felt like there were some changes in the atmosphere. Even some grocery stores started, I mean, it's already less plastic in Germany, but even other grocery stores joined it. And Aldi, I think they announced that they're going to cut it down, I don't know by how much, a couple of months ago. And German environment minister, I think, made a decision, made some news headlines about cutting down more plastic bags. I don't have the details, but I remember it happened. Interestingly, this happened over the summer. One of my friends and I were looking at, we wanted to buy a disposable barbecue grill. We couldn't find it. It was out of stock. We thought it was out of stock. We went to 3 stores, same store. In 3rd store, the guy said, they're not popular anymore. It's not environmental friendly. I was very happy. I was disappointed not to buy one, but I was happy because, yeah, okay, finally. And a few weeks after, we found this. Nice, okay, well, it's a little better because it's completely, when you finish, you're done, it's only charcoal. They forgot one thing, it is still wrapped in plastic sheet. Still better, right? So, think about it. Policies can help, but even the message of a policy coming in your way can change the way people think. That's a good thing about it, right? This is my best example. This happened to me while I was in Michigan. I went to see my kids a couple of weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. I was at a restaurant in Michigan, suburbs. Asked for a mojito. I forgot to tell that I don't need a straw. And I'm glad I didn't, because they gave me, for the first time, I got a paper straw. Why is this a big deal to me? Because I know Michigan. I moved to Michigan 15 years ago. This is not California or New York you're talking about. This is in the Midwest. Detroit is not San Francisco or New York City. But think about it. San Francisco, New York City, San Diego, and some other cities are actually introducing very good example models for cities. And there is a social debate on all these things, and there is an impact even in this restaurant in Michigan. I felt really happy to try this paper straw, which was terrible, because if you don't hurry, then you have to forget about the straw and go in the old-fashioned way. Yeah? Okay, but I was really glad to go through that experience. Observation 4, or 2 more, right? This is observation 4. No policies yet is no excuse. It's good to have policies. When something, a new idea, a new project is backed by policies, it happens in a smooth way. But it doesn't have to always be the excuse, oh, we don't have a policy, so we don't want to do that. There are some nice examples, like out-of-the-box kind of examples. I just want to bring some of them. I need to tell you, they're all my travel experience. Why am I showing you my boarding pass from 2016? Because Air Berlin was kind enough to print 3 flights, 3 boarding passes in 1 piece of paper. That was great. I saved it somewhere, and I found it a few months ago when I had to go to Bonn in a train. I went to Bonn to attend a sustainability conference, and the organizers asked, please use a train, don't fly. And I complied, so my office bought a ticket, and when I went to the machine to print it, it printed 7 sheets. 4 to go, 3 to come back. I started comparing in my mind. It's a good way because both companies are from the same country. No one is pushing. Well, yeah, Berlin went out of business 3 years ago, but it has sustainability or circular economy has nothing to do with it. I just want to tell you. But this is a very good model. Ever since after 2016, I have seen few other companies, few other airlines trying to do that. I think once or twice I have even seen it with the KLM. Why is this a powerful example? I looked it up. I think there is about 4.5 billion boarding passes printed each year, at least nowadays, okay? Only 1/3 is digital. Think about how many boarding passes you can save, at least if you can pull. There are some issues, I know, but no government or no other policy is pushing them to do that, but they wanted to do that. There is some innovation behind this idea. It's a neat idea. Another good example. Well, the second headline says that eat the carp. I'm not asking you to eat this plastic. I'm talking about this one. 6 years ago when I came to Germany, North Sea was a different experience to me just because of this cup made out of a wafer, thin wafer, which is edible. I liked it so much because this is what I was used to, this metal stuff. You can eat it. It's edible, but if you don't want to eat it, it's fine too because it's biodegradable. I don't have any numbers on the relative cost, but I don't think it's going to cost anything much more than what you have to put on to produce the stuff. Yeah. So I don't think any government is pushing them to do it this way, but it's a very good sustain, very powerful example. Third one, I told you it's all about travel. Why am I showing you this? I mean, is it related to waste management or circular economy? Yeah, actually in the big picture there is a big thing. Now, these two companies brought a model and policymakers had a nightmare because they didn't know how to treat them. In some countries they also got into fights with policymakers or the local governments. In New York, I remember there was some debate about Airbnb or Uber or both of them. By the way, you understand this is Uber, right? Okay. This is Uber, this is Airbnb. Why am I bringing this as an example? This is all about renting out your extra space. What is the opportunity cost here? Think about what you don't have to do now. Think about the amount of waste you don't have to produce now, because some people have decided to share their extra space. So you don't have to put extra taxis, well, you don't have to produce taxis for that matter, So you actually, in the big picture, there is a big connection. Same thing about the hotel rooms too. Maybe not the best example, but probably there is something to think about it, right? This model. This is probably the best so far. Schiphol Airport, Amsterdam. You see the headline. Philips, you know Philips, it's a giant company out of Netherlands, Dutch company. They were very famous for making light bulbs, right? Is their new business model? I don't think they're going to stop making light bulbs. This is something they wanted to try. Instead of selling bulbs, they decided to sell light. And this is the pilot project happening at the airport. What do? Okay, so now think about your house. You have to replace your bulbs every now and then. You have to maintain, you have to find, well, in Germany, you even have to decide where to put your light bulbs, right? There are so many decision making you have to do, and maintenance you have to do too. So in this case, what they propose is, we give you light, don't worry about it, just sign a contract, we give you light. We decide where to put how much based on your conditions. What is in it for them? You see this curve? This is the cost of energy or energy reduction. When one company is handling the whole thing, they can optimize. They know what to do. They know where you need more light or less light. So there is some cost saving. This diagram is real, by the way. There is some cost saving immediately after because of the way they handle the process. But then, when you collect data over a period of time, you can optimize further. This is the second reduction. There is something to think about it. I just decided to add this because, okay, it's interesting, and plus it covers the energy side of the whole picture. I promise you this is the last time. I'm not bringing him up again. What is innovation on Mars? Yeah, okay, well, the biggest innovation to me is how he decided and tried out this experiment to make water out of hydrogen. Burning hydrogen is a big no-no in NASA's book or any laboratory in the world. NASA was not watching, he didn't have contact. But later when they made contact, NASA said fine because there's no other option. So, well, this is probably not the best example. I'm just bringing this up fun. But the point is, policies can catch up fast enough, faster than you think if you're being innovative. Bring some new thinking. Do it in a different way. Policies will catch up. It doesn't have to be an excuse. Last set. Observation number 5, the unbalanced perception. I'm asking the question whether we are being hypocritical. Now bear with me because this might sound arrogant, some of the examples, but I'm just sharing my observations. So, try to look through it, not look at it. Okay, Jordan, I'm taking Jordan. Well, I didn't talk about Jordan before, but we did some work in the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa region. A couple of countries are doing good in SUA, use of wastewater for agricultural purposes. Jordan is one of them. I like Jordan because they actually worked on their policies. They integrated their policies to make it better, make it happen better and smooth. When I say make it means SUA, so safe use of wastewater in agriculture. Now, by 2025, the expectation is to have 16% of their water budget from wastewater. So wastewater is integrated in the national water budget, which is a good thing. Only few countries do it at that level. However, they're not paying the same attention to food. Something I observed in Amman. It happens in all restaurants. You go to a restaurant, you sit down, they come and put a sheet of plastic, first picture, and then you get your food. Most locals don't eat more than half of what is being served. The rest goes into the trash can. I didn't quite understand that. They order much, but they don't eat much. And at the end, the person comes back and put it up. 4 corners of the plastic sheet becomes a sack. It all goes into trash. I was curious, it happened everywhere, and then I actually noticed it's in some other countries in the region. So I talked to some of the people. I was in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks, or actually 2 weeks ago. Saw the same thing there too. I talked to some people from the region. It's offering more food is a good thing. It's a good gesture. So there is some cultural element in it. I can't just go there and say, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, okay, you're doing something wrong, but there's a cultural sensitivity. And I try to look for some information to understand. There is nothing much. That means the realization is slow too. I am just picking on Jordan because a country that is doing relatively extremely good in one aspect is actually turning a blind eye to the other side of another side of sustainability. I didn't understand this, but it's a regional problem. Okay, Attica, I'm so sorry to pick on your beautiful island again. Singapore. We talked about Singapore, one of the best examples. And again, something similar happened. I was in Singapore a couple of months ago at a restaurant. And that was the second time. I was in Singapore 16 years ago, and over these 16 years, something has changed. And it's this. So much plastic. Plastic usage. I thought I was just overestimating it. And then I did a little search to understand, no, actually it is real, and the government knows it too. So this Ministry of Environment, or a division related to Ministry of Environment, is calling the country, this is not me, it's not me.
It's not me either.
The government is calling the country nation of plastic, because it's actually, it has reached a certain level which is not really sustainable, but you don't see it. Why? Because they have a nice system to take care of waste. So waste management is optimum. You don't see plastic because you collect it in a proper way and then you burn it, and ash goes to a landfill in the middle of the sea. So they have a running system, but there is no sustainability. There is lack of sustainability. Why are you taking pictures? It's only your own country.
So we can take that.
Anyway, there is some good news though, because finally, January or February this year, government of Singapore decided to go with the circular model. So it's a part of the official government campaign now. Circular economy is part of their policy since February this year. I had to be really careful when I talk about this next example. Might be a bit politically sensitive too. So this word, Agbaglashi. I had to say it a few times the first time I tried it. Is an area in Ghana, in Accra, the capital of Ghana. It's nicknamed as the world's largest e-waste junkyard, e-waste scrapyard. World's largest e-waste scrapyard. Okay. So, 3 of the pictures are from internet because I was in Ghana about a month ago. I had a rare opportunity to go see this place, and that's why it is in here. 3 of the pictures are not taken by me because people over there, they don't actually like taking pictures. This one was taken by me. I'll tell you about it. You see a smoke here? It's not someone doing barbecue. It's this. Some young boys burning cables to recover copper wire. Open burning. And the other picture in the middle is about how they recover material. Third one is a better one because it was actually supported by an NGO and German public money to do some upscaling. Nice word, right? Upscaling. They collect aluminum and they make aluminum pots and sell. So there's a mix of things here. Some salvage stuff, others reuse, upscale. There's some good things done by this NGO supported by the German public money. I'm not going to name the German public entity supporting it. They're actually doing a very good job to support people on ground. But where is the dilemma here? We asked them a couple of times, where does this come from? They said, it's all collected within the country, the e-waste. Yeah, sure, right. A developing country of this scale has the world's largest e-waste junkyard. It's not possible. We asked the same question from this organization 3 times in 3 different ways. We didn't get any answers, so I got curious and I did my homework, and it's mostly coming from Europe, and Germany is in the top 5. To me, it's good and bad. It's why, that's why I call it a dilemma, because I mean, people over there getting some help is fantastic, it's great, but look at the big picture. When you try to put money at the end of the stream rather than trying to stop it, it doesn't make much sense to me. If both are happening, it's fine. But you see the numbers. Let me tell you how this happens, because I don't think in Europe it's legal to export any e-waste, right? And in Ghana too, it is actually illegal to import any e-waste. So how do they do it? They found the best loophole. Look at this. "70% of the functioning equipment." This is a loophole. They send it out as material for second-hand usage. Ghana actually prohibited getting any junk from other countries, but is not prohibited to take anything for second-hand use. This is what happens. The stuff gets into the country. In 2 weeks, it's in washing. In 2 weeks. So, something to think about. It's right and it's wrong at the same time. But the general conclusion is it's not right. There's something wrong about the whole thing. Last one. I'm comparing apples to oranges now, right? There's a golden rule. Do not compare apples and oranges. Okay, let's talk about paper. I mean, this is all about perception. We do a relatively good job with paper recycling. Agree, right? Yeah. We at least we talk about it. We teach it to our kids. Everything is fine. Nice. The other side of the picture is about cattle industry. I already gave one data point before. It's actually consuming 75% of the land, agricultural land. And when it comes to energy, it's even more terrible. 86% of the energy consumption in agricultural industry is going towards this, to give us only 8% of what we eat. Now, apple to orange, right? Okay, so let's make it apple to apple. How do you do that? With water. Water footprint. Let's talk about water footprint. To produce 1 kilogram of beef, how much water is needed? Any idea? I'm sorry, say that again. You said something, right?
70,000.
Very close, yeah. I mean, the numbers are all over the place, but the upper range is in that range, 15,000 liters. I go with 15,000 as an example. 15,000 liters to produce 1 kilogram of beef. If you have a steak of 250 grams of, or 200 grams, let's say, 200 grams of a beef steak of 200 grams. 3,000 liters right there in one meal. Yeah? Okay. Paper, the numbers are all over the place because paper industry is using different techniques. It can be from real trees, it can be from recycled paper. So the water per 1 A4 size sheet can be from 2 liters to 30 liters. Okay, let's go with 10 because people try to use 10 as an approximate number. Now, think about this, okay? In the office, you're trying your best to plan ahead and not to print, and you're very happy at the end of the day because you didn't print 10 sheets. Okay, I'm very happy I contributed because I didn't print 10 sheets. You save 100 liters of water, right? And you go home and eat a beef steak of 200 grams and you consume 3,000 liters of water right there. I'm not asking you to stop eating, But actually, when it comes to meat, there is a, I don't know, there is something not right about it, because there are other red meats. They don't take that much, that kind of water. Even lamb or pork, and there are some other meats. Actually, it is less than half. The water footprint is less than half. It's about what I'm trying to tell you in all this, with all these examples. It's about our perception. I do understand perfectly why we are doing it. There's a reason. Like why Singapore is not paying attention to plastic, but they're doing such a good job with water. There is a reason. They're pushed to a corner and they have to take care of that. That's a priority. So in most countries, sustainability is not prioritized. Sustainability is not for free. It has a money. It has a price tag. I understand it, but I think maybe it is time we think about our perception too. We need to change the way we think. Now, I didn't present anything. I only talked about observations, so I don't have conclusions, but I can wrap up into two sentences. The cycle, we can make it work, but you need to pay equal attention to the other parts too, especially SDG 12. Right here. You need to do more things to make that part of the cycle function better. Now, I don't know if you were paying enough attention, but now you can see this is what we would like to see is thicker here, right? And this is thinner here. So less waste. I mean, there will be always some waste leaking out of this system. We cannot go for a perfect cycle. It's not possible. I mean, think about engineering and sciences. So less waste, less intake, more recycling. We can make this work. You might be thinking that this is the last example, last slide. No, I have one more. I run on jokes. I haven't made a joke in 2 hours, so here's one, okay? 5th grade science class. The teacher was talking about hearing. She was explaining how important it is to have this outer part of the ear because it gives you a higher, helps hearing, and it gives you the three-dimensional aspect of hearing too. And at the end of the lesson, she asked one question. Okay, if I lose one of my ears, what will happen? So they all answered, you will have reduced hearing. Yeah, okay, that's good. And teacher asked the second question. What if I lose both of them? One kid, hopefully it's this one, raised a hand before others and he said, you will lose your vision. You're not going to be able to see better. Teacher was furious. I'm working very hard to teach you and this is the answer you give me. Yes. And here is why. You are not able to, she asked why. He was pointing at the face. You're not able to wear glasses anymore. You don't have your ears. It took you a few seconds, some of you, to get it, right? Okay, you take it as a joke, it's fine, but actually there's a reason why I let it here. This is the problem we have. Sometimes when we focus on things, we pick our favorite. We only look at that. We cover that. We write research papers to cover one portion. You're not putting it in the big picture. You miss some stuff because the focus is in one place, right? We need people, we need thinking to see through and read between lines maybe. Not the numbers themselves, but the picture behind the numbers. We need students like this student. We need people like this kid. Alright, so just to wrap up, I took a lot of time. I talked for 1 hour. Okay, I hope it was not boring. But what I have to tell you is, these are all the observations. You have a right to agree with me or disagree with me. It's all fine. But I hope there was something to think about. I really hope there was something to take away. Numbers are important, research is important, but I think fixing your thinking is much more important than that. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.